Ime Udoka talking yesterday. What is Udoka looking to accomplish early on? Given the team's lack of experience, he's saying youth is not an excuse, and it's not going to be an excuse for him.
Just trying to expedite the process of becoming professionals. I think, they heard me say it, and the players, one of my first messages will be youth is not an excuse. And so across the board, I think, whether it's making the same mistakes, not making the right defensive assignments, poor shot selection, all that stuff has to be addressed, but also improved on. And so understanding that we're going to take some lumps with our age and our youth, but my message to them will be that's not an excuse. You've been in the league, you've been taught, and that's my job to teach them and expedite that process. So understanding that, having some patience with that, just like I had to do in Boston, had to change some habits there as well, even though those guys were more of a veteran group and guys who have been around, but it's no different from anywhere else. And so look forward to doing that here.
Accountability is a big word here because there was very little of it. And so I'm looking forward to it. He's a defensive coach. They're going to stress defense. I've heard from front office people they are very disappointed in the way that they play defensively. They want to be a defensive team. Whether or not Şengün can actually fit in.
Do they have defensive players?
Yeah,
even outside of Şengün, I know he's the one who gets bashed.
Yeah, he's the
one. But he ain't the only one.
He ain't the only one.
So when you're
it's a lot of it is effort.
When the tip of the spear, and by that I mean your backcourt, your point of attack defense are poor, Şengün's going to look even worse because if you can't guard the ball, you're putting everyone in bad situations. So you can try to make people better. Hell, Steph Curry has gotten better as he's gotten bigger and older and more experienced playing defense. He's not the same. We're going to attack you over and over again, and we're going to exploit you. He's not that guy anymore. He's not a great defender, but he's become probably average. So you can get to average at least. But will they have to change this roster to find that defensive attitude? And even if that means, I know there's sound from yesterday, KPJ being lauded at the end of the press conference. How much can you pull out of that backcourt to go, okay, those guys are going to become at least average point of attack defenders where it's the beginning of how we run our defense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can actually teach guys to play defense because we saw there are very few, if any, defenders on this team right now. We'll find out, and we'll find out whether or not they need to change it up. They need to make wholesale changes that these young guys can't. He likes the core. I think the core is probably going to stay. I could certainly see some movement though with some of the young guys, including Şengün, because if he can't get it defensively, then Şengün is going to it's going to be a problem, and he's going to have to get better. I would really like to see Şengün stay, and I know a lot of the fan base does. Listen, of course, there's all of this stuff about why he got fired from the Celtics, and the Rockets did their due diligence.
Did they?
But yeah, they did.
Do we know that they did their due diligence? Other than that, they said it.
Well, we know that they talked to the commissioner. We have to take them at their word.
Did they talk to the woman involved, or was she made available?
Maybe the woman doesn't want to talk about it.
That's a very real thing.
Yeah,
but did they request? These are my questions that no one asked, because I think it's very flimsy to just say, well, they said they did their due diligence. It's different situations, but you know who said they did their due diligence? The Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't talk to one woman. So I'm not saying the Rockets are the Browns, but what I'm saying is I'm not going to just take the word of a team or a league. Oh, we did our due diligence. That has proven to be not true in past instances.
It's a real different situation.
Yes, it is.
As far as we understand.
Certainly.
One was a victim and the other one was a consenting adult.
I'm not saying they are the same. And I had a discussion with Roosh Williams on Twitter about this, well, a bit of a back and forth. He is pretty much all in on saying, well, no harm, no foul.
There was obviously a foul. Yeah. He was fired for his indiscretion.
I'm not saying he's not saying he didn't do anything wrong, but now that since there wasn't a forcible situation, it was all consensual. Hey, let's move on. That's kind of his approach, and that's fine. He's your guy now. You want to talk about basketball? I get it. And yes, they are different because
and by the way, we don't know the details. That hasn't come out.
Yeah, we don't know.
Plus, he was in a position of authority.
These are the reasons. Yes, right. Well, those are the reasons they listed as why he got fired. I'm not saying he forced this woman to do anything, but the Celtics were aware of this relationship and were like, whatever. I mean, it's not great, but go ahead. And then the woman said afterwards, after the relationship was known about, that he made crude comments, and then they investigated, and he got suspended and eventually fired. So, like you said, who knows who's available to talk? I don't think the Rockets would want any of that to come out. I imagine Ime Udoka doesn't want it either. I just don't like listening to people say, well, they said they did their due diligence. We don't know what they did.
Right. Well, I have to take him at his word. And he said he did. Tillman said he did talk to the commissioner. The commissioner was fine with it, that with the hiring of Udoka and having Udoka back in the league. And that's kind of a big deal, because if the commissioner wasn't fine, if anybody wasn't fine with it, and apparently he talked to the Celtics as well. I don't know the details of everything that he did. They said they did the due diligence. And, Rafael Stone said, we're going to vet every candidate, and they did vet every candidate. So, I don't know. All I know is they're comfortable with Ime Udoka as their head coach.